Hi everyone, and welcome to the first video, which is an introduction to Power BI Desktop. So in this video we're going to hopefully build some data and build some visualizations and in essence build a dashboard in Power BI using multiple sources of data. Okay, this video is running alongside the worksheet that I provided, and it's based upon some Microsoft tutorial elements that have been adapted for what you need. Okay, so some of the stuff that we're going to talk about and we're going to go through, and even the data set itself, is going to be taken directly from Microsoft, because obviously they built the program, they understand how it works. We're not going to reinvent the wheel. The whole point of this tutorial really is to take it from a base level, hopefully break it down for you a little bit as we go through, and then also alongside this video you've then got the worksheet that goes over some of the little elements in a little bit more detail, if you will. Okay, so I'm going to try and focus on the actual building of it within this tutorial, like I've just said. There will be elements where I'm going to take my time and go through it like systematically, because I want to do it in line with what the worksheet says, and I don't want to make it differently and then you get confused. So I'm going to try my best to make the video as short as possible. However, it's probably going to be a long video. It's going to break it down hopefully in a lot of detail for you, and it should just act as a good starting point in order for you to understand the basics of what Power BI does, and then also allows you to then go and do some other research based on other tasks that I give you and other different elements, and then from that you can build your Power BI knowledge, and then hopefully it'll stand you in good stead for doing data analysis in this way in the future. So in order to download Power BI Desktop, you can download the free version. Anyone can download it. So I've just gone to my Power BI site, but in essence you can go to powerbi.microsoft.com, and then when you go to that it should come up with this page here. You can just download it off here. I'm just going to, if I click sign in, it automatically signs me in, and then from this page here, or from any of these, I've just gone on goals, that's all. So on the top here you've got a button here called download. When you click download, you can click Power BI Desktop, and then when you click that, it'll obviously open it up and download it all for you. Okay, so it's nice and easy, nice and simple to download. It's a quick download. I use Power BI Desktop. You can do some of this stuff online using the browser, but honestly Power BI Desktop is just better. So one of the things that Power BI does, it does a lot of calculations, a lot of queries, and if it's running off the hardware of your PC, generally it's going to run faster. When we're talking about PC hardware, generally if you're doing data analysis to this level, the PC needs to be able to cope with it. So you will be able to use it in most things. So laptops and normal desktops should be perfectly fine, unless you've got something that's 5-10 years old maybe. But some of the things that when we're doing the queries might just take a little bit longer, that's all. And you might have to save it a little bit more often, all that sort of stuff. Okay, so I'm going to try not to waffle. So when looking at Power BI then, Power BI is basically an environment where you can build in dashboards and build in graphs and do data analysis by bringing in multiple sources and editing and formatting and transforming that data within them sources. Okay, so when you open up Power BI, I'm just going to start to build basically, we're going to use the data set from Microsoft, and it's about sunglasses, and it's about heat and weather within American states and where sunglasses could be put into and where we can do marketing for that. It's all around that area. There is a link later on when I start to go through it that could give you a bit more context to what we're working with, but that doesn't really matter too much. The only bits you really need to consider is what we're doing with that data, how we're doing things like filtering, how we're bringing different pieces of data together, how we're matching it up, how we're then building the charts afterwards. Okay, so when you open up Power BI then, you will see this page, okay, Power BI Desktop. If you look at the bottom here, it's like a little graph, a little yellow graph if you will. When we've got Power BI Desktop open, on the left hand side here, you've got 3 different sections. These are the main ones that we're going to use as we go through. You should, however, when you get right at the start, you should have this little pop-up appear. This pop-up in essence goes through some different things, some different videos. This probably uses the same data set, and you've got some different queries here and building things up. This is, in essence, is more focused, this video, on what you need to learn in terms of the syllabus that we're doing, but also just to give you some generalized knowledge. And this is why I've created the video rather than me just giving you another video to watch. I'm just going to try and keep it simple to them terms and try and explain things a little bit more detail in certain elements where it is a little bit confusing at times. So you've got this pop-up up here. I'm just going to click on the X in the corner. I'm going to get rid of it for now. When you've got this screen up here, this is your Power BI desktop interface. There's a number of different things to consider within this. You've got the ribbon here at the top, and this goes through a number of different topics that we'll look at in detail individually. Things like get data, you've got new visualizations, you can add text boxes to the dashboard. You've got an insert tab, which has got some new things like new pages. You can look at the hierarchy. You can do some text boxes, some buttons, some shapes, some images, make the desktop, the dashboard basically look pretty. You can do some modeling within there, and you've got a number of different views and different ways of looking at it. And then you've got your help tab, okay? Unlike something such as Excel, it has a number of different things on the left hand side and on the right in which we generally would use more than the bits up here. In Excel, generally at the top, everything is there to use. Within Power BI, we use something called a query as well. So we're doing queries on Power Query is like another interface that appears that we can do things in. And I'm going to kind of talk you through that as we go through this tutorial, okay? So to start off with then, on the left hand side you've got these three different elements. You've got the report view, which basically would show us a dashboard. It might show us some graphs, it might show us some different bits such as that. We've got the table view, which we can actually look at, sorry, the data view, which we can look at tables and we can see data all lined up, which we'll get to later on. And we've got a hierarchy view, in which is called the, what's the actual name for it? The model view. And in terms of that, that shows us how that data links together, okay? These three things work hand in hand. So just be noted when we're going through this, if I say report, it's this one up here. If I say table and data, it's this one here. And if I say model or hierarchy, it's this one here, if you will. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do then is, in fact, I'll quickly show you here on the right hand side what these are as well, because we're going to use these quite a lot. When we add data to our database, so we export something or import something like an Excel document, or we're going to use like a web address and pull some data from that to start off with. When we've created our tables, they're going to appear here, okay, in these fields tabs. And a bit like how pivot tables work in Excel and how we pull things across, we're basically going to be able to drag things across into here, and then we're going to be able to build data dashboards and build graphs and build other elements to do with that. There is obviously a number of different graphs we can use in here, and again we've got a number of different aspects here that we can start to look at. So if we click on this, for instance, we can build things, we can build different aspects such as that. And then we've also got within this, we've got a filter tab. This filter tab will come in really useful in terms of data analysis. If we, for instance, got two fields, one's about weather and one's about sunglasses, maybe we do a little filter that says, looking at this data, filter it against the top 10 of this data, and that is us doing some analysis, and it's going to build us some charts, doing some different analytical aspects such as that. I'm going to try my best during this video to keep it to just doing drag and drop, so we're not going to do any code yet. We can look at that later on, but for now we don't need to, okay? So, as well as this then, Power BI includes something called a Power Query Editor. This opens in a separate document, and you'll kind of see that as we go through now, okay? So the first thing I'm going to do then, I'm going to start to get some data to use. I'm going to go to the Get Data tab at the top here, and then there's a number of different selections here. You can just select web there, which is what we're going to do, but if you click on more, there is also a number of different ones that will appear. And inside this, you can import data from all of these different sources. It's good to have a quick look through this and just see what sort of things you can upload, like there's Python, for instance, R scripts, everything pretty much in essence. LinkedIn Sales Navigator, there's lots of different things. We're just going to use something that's simple, which is called web, and basically it's going to go to a website, pull some data from that website, and then we're going to use it in terms of that. So I'm going to click web, and then we're going to click connect, and then it will connect me to a pop-up that appears. Okay, so this pop-up here will then allow me to type in a URL, okay? This URL, in essence, what it's going to do, it's going to go to that website, and it's going to find me the data included within that website, and that will then allow me to pull that data, okay? So that's the web address there. You can type it in, or you can just nip to the worksheet and then copy and paste it, which is https:// www.bankrate.com/ /retirement / best and worst dates for retirement. Okay, so it's going to pull some data across from there. And again, this is more about us pulling the actual data from this website and what we're going to use within it. We're not going to use all of it. So if you press OK, you will then see another pop-up appear. And again, this takes a little bit of time sometimes because it's just loading it into the Power Query pop-up. And then you should see a navigator appear. And then you will see when it's downloaded all the different pieces of data, a big list appear here, like so. And basically what it's done is it's gone to this website, which if I click web view here, I can see the actual website it's gone to. There's some data included within here, which is what we're going to look at, which is this. And then from that, it's tried to pull it out separately for us here on the left-hand side. The one that we want to use in terms of this is just this HTML table. So if we tick that one there, you should see all of this appear now, okay? There is some little editing things that we're going to do as we go through here. And again, we can do some different aspects such as this. We can load it straight into Power BI, but we don't want to do that. What we want to do is go on transform data. And then that'll take us to our Power Query pop-up, if you will, which is this one here, or Power Query Editor. And there's a number of different things we can do within this now that allows us to then start to edit this data and move it around, okay? So, inside this transform box then, the first thing we're going to start to look at is how we shape data and how we bring it together. On the right hand side here, we've got this applied steps, okay? This like toolbox, if you will, is very important in terms of Power BI. What it does is it allows us to see a list of all the changes that we've made as we've gone along. So inside here you can see I've now got my source. This is me pulling the web data, but it's just the coded version. Then we've got an extracted table from HTML, which is here. And then we've got change type, which is what we're going to do now in terms of changing the data type itself. When it's transformed it basically into Power Query, it's done some little changes there. Okay, so we can start to edit this data. Everything we do now within this, you'll see a new one appear. And that's basically, like I say, it's a track of what we're doing in terms of this. Okay, so in terms of what we're going to look at then, kind of think about this, how Excel works. This is a set of columns and we can do little editing tables to it. The only difference is when we're changing things in Power Query, what it's actually doing is it's changing back-end code and it's changing things like data types. It's changing things like the way in which it compares the queries that we're building together. It's slightly different than the way Excel works, but it's got a lot of similarities within it, okay? So try and think of it similar to that, but it's going to allow us to do a number of different things. This Power Query Editor that is now on top of our Power BI desktop is just for transforming this data. That's what it does, okay? So try and consider it as that, if you will. And again, there's a lot more different things we can do within this that you can't do within this dashboard builder, in essence. So in Power Query Editor then, when you're selecting columns, you can select a column, so like so. You can keep hold of Control and select multiple columns. Or you can click one here and click Shift and then select a number of columns that are adjacent to each other. These different columns that are adjacent to each other, sometimes it might be useful, so we click that one and then go, right, okay, well, I'm going to click to that one, and then I'm going to press Control on number 2 and get rid of that one. Very similar to how Excel works. Try and get used to using Shift and Control in terms of selecting things. Alongside that as well, when we're on, say, column 1, we can click this little arrow here, and we can change a number of different things within this. So we can do some sorting, which we'll do soon. We can do some different aspects such as that. You can remove some empty columns. You can deselect certain elements of it. This one here, text filters, you can also do little text aspects in terms of how we then change things so we can match it up based upon different things that we're going to look at very soon. Okay. So inside the column here then, you've got this option like I just said there to get that. Or you can right click the heading and you've got a number of different options again. One of the options that we're going to use quite a lot is this change type, okay? At the moment, everything is set to text. So you could select a number of different things like so, and then you could right click, go to change type and change it based upon that. However, we're going to do them individually in terms of what we're going to look at, okay? The one thing that we need to edit to start off with is, at the top here, you'll notice that it says column 1, column 2, column 3, but our actual column titles are here just below it, okay? So we need, in essence, this column, this row to become our column headers. So all we're going to do for that is we're going to click on number 1, which is there, which you actually need to do that, but we're going to click on it anyway so we understand it. We're going to go to transform, we're going to go to use first row as headers, we're going to use first row as headers again, and you'll see now that it's popped up here to state overall rank affordability. That's just allowed us to do that. And then this one here, this column, this source, we don't actually need this one. This has just been pulled out of the HTML document, because if you look, there's 51 states, there's 50 states in America, so we just want the states themselves. So we're just going to click on number 1 here, and then we're going to go to home, which is here. We're going to go to remove rows, which is that one there, select that, and then remove top row, which is this one. So remove that, and then we will number of rows, we're going to remove 1. We could press 5 and it will get rid of 5 of them. We obviously only want to get rid of 1 of them, and you'll see now it's kind of formatted a little bit better there for us to use. The reason we're doing that now is because in a minute we're going to start to change data types. If there's a number of different pieces of information in that column, such as text or numbers or what the other ones we could have, so stuff like time or date, if there's a number of different ones, then it's going to struggle to change it to the one that we want if it doesn't represent it. So we just try and clean up the data a little bit like that. That's kind of what Power BI does. It allows us to clean up data in essence. Okay, so you know now you can right click and you can change data types in terms of that, and you can use control and you can use shift to select a number of different ones in essence. So next what we're going to do is we're going to sort our columns. So if we go to these different columns here, we're going to go across to the one that says weather, which is here. Then we're going to right click it, we're going to go down to change type, and we're going to select whole number, okay? Because what we want to do is we want to order this by number. You can't order it by text because it won't read it the same. Let me just show you so you can kind of see. If I do it by text, in fact, let's cancel that. In the right hand side here, I've now changed that, okay? So I want to go back a step, so that little delete button there, let's press that and go back. Now I'm back to it as it was the step before. In weather, if I was to sort this now, so I was going to click on that little arrow and go sort ascending, you'll see it's now sorted by text, so it does all the 1s first and all the 2s second and so on. Obviously that's not the way we want to sort it in terms of this. So we, like I say, if we go to the right hand side again, press the X, and then if we right click, go to change type and change it to whole number, and then we click the little arrow on the right hand side and click sort by ascending, you'll now see we've got a list of numbers that are going all the way down from 1 to 50, okay? In essence what that's done, it's sorted our columns by the hottest weather based upon the rank that we've pulled from that website, okay? So on the website it showed ranks 1 to 50 in hottest weather, we've just pulled that piece of information and now we've ranked them by that number, if you will, okay? So you'll just notice on the right hand side that we've got these different elements here. The next thing we want to do is we want to get rid of 10 of them, okay? So you're not very interested in terms of this in selling sunglasses to the worst weather states. So you decide to remove the bottom 10 from the table, and in order to do this, what we're going to do, we're just going to click on the weather column, we're going to go to the home button at the top here, and then we're going to go to remove rows, which is here, and remove bottom rows. When we click on this, we're then going to go, right, okay, we want to remove 10 of them, so we're going to select 10 and press OK. You'll now see this data set is now only got 40 values because it's removed the 10 bottom ones, if you will. That's a very handy thing when it comes to looking at data and what data we actually need for our analysis. It allows us to separate different aspects such as that, if you will. Okay, so we've got our 10 from there. The bottom 10 worth weathers are now removed from the table, and the steps been applied into these applied steps, so you can kind of track it as we go along. Again, like here, the sorting rows, if I clicked on that, it would then take me back to previous to this step, so it's now 50. And now click on remove bottom row, it'll now take me to 40. Be careful when you're messing around with these, because if you change something like previously that relies on, so say like this one relies on these 2 steps, if you then change one of them steps, then it might change it in a negative way. It might change it in a positive way because that's what you tried to do, but again, it's just something to be mindful of there, okay? Now in terms of this then, one thing that we're going to do, we don't need all of this data here, okay? We just need certain aspects of this data. So we're going to decide that looking at the data itself, we're going to keep affordability in terms of the columns, okay, and we're going to get rid of some of the other ones. So if we get rid of crime, culture and wellness, sorry, I'm just making sure I'm doing exactly the same as what I've put on the worksheet. If we get rid of crime, culture and wellness, we don't want these three columns in essence, but we do want the rest of them. So we highlight them three, and then we go to remove columns at the top, and then click remove columns. You'll now see they disappear, and then we're just left now with states, overall rank, affordability and weather, and these are the ones that we're going to definitely be focusing on in terms of this. Okay, so we've got these different aspects to consider, and again on the right hand side now you should see that's appeared in essence. You can right click on any of the steps in the applied step and choose to delete it as well. So here's just a quick note. If I say for instance on this one I could right click on and delete that step, so here I might not want to do that because like I say I might need that, but for instance if I change the type here and I change all the types wrong and I just want to get rid of that change of types, I could then right click it in terms of that, and that would allow me then to redo that step. And you can insert steps as well, so I could for instance do this one and move it up and down and I could put it in the right order. You're going to get used to using this quite a lot in the future. I just want to make sure that I keep mentioning that bit because that's one of the most important aspects of learning Power BI. So in terms of then looking at our data, we don't need the sorted rows now. So even though we've ranked it by weather here, we don't need this one. So we just click on that sorted row and press on the X and press delete. We've now got exactly the same data in essence, but it's now by overall rank rather than weather, which is here, which it previously was done. And again, that's going to be very useful for us looking at it later on. So now what we're going to do is we're going to change the name of it. So you can go up to the top right hand corner here and you could look at this bit here. This is the name of our table that we've just created within Power Query Editor. So we're going to call this one sunglasses sales. So sunglass sales, like so, and then we will click off it. And now that's changed the name of our table, if you will. And if you look on the left hand side, I say table, but they are queries. So a query is basically an edit of an original table. So kind of it is SQL, but the way in which it works is if you've got a full table that you've imported and then you've done some things with it, that then becomes a query because you've edited it in a certain way. So that's just something to consider in terms of that. Okay, so we've now got that normal name, if you will, and we've got that new name set up correctly. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to start to combine data together. So we've got this data how we want it. However, we don't just want one piece of data, we want a number of pieces of data in essence. And that transformation of data and bringing in multiple queries is this data integration that we've been talking about, and how we link it together, how we bring data from different sources together, how we edit it, how we then show it in something like Power BI through a dashboard. That's what we kind of need to focus on. So obviously I'm not going to get rid of this Power Query because I'm going to build it all in the same one. At the top here you've got new source, okay? So I'm going to click new source, and then I'm going to click web. And then I get that URL appear again, like so. I'm then going to copy and paste this web address into it, and again you can just type that out if you want to, or again it's in the worksheet to help you out, and then I'm going to press OK. When I press OK, it's going to take a little bit of time to get this one to load up because it's quite a lot of data in turn. That's quite quick, to be fair. And when we're looking at this then, again you can click on web view. This is just going to Wikipedia and it's pulling the data of all of the American states versus the short names of them. Inside our data you'll notice that we've got the full names of it. When we're working with this second piece of data, it's only got them short names of like AZ for Arizona, for instance. And in terms of that, what that means is we need to do some transformation, some editing to allow it to understand what it's doing in essence. Okay, so you've got this one that appears now. Inside this, what we're going to do in this navigation window, we're going to select the table code and abbreviation, so this one at the top, make sure it's ticked there. We're going to select, we're just going to select that one in terms of that, and then we're going to press OK. And you'll see when we press that, you've now got a second query appear on the left hand side, okay? Again, there's some little issues with the way this is set up, so we're going to edit them now. So we want to get rid of this top one to start off with, don't we? Because we don't need this bit of information, we just want this information here. And then if you look at this one, this is our column names that we want. So we want to be able to look at the name of the region and all that sort of stuff from there. So what I will do is I will click on the top one here, number 1, and then I will go to remove rows, remove top row, and then I will move one of them rows and it will get rid of this one here. I'm then going to make this one into our columns. So I'm going to go on transform again, use first row as header, and then you'll see it now appear here at the top. And then again, this is just a blank column. So we're just going to go to home, we're going to go to remove rows and then remove top row again and click 1 and press OK. There is obviously a number of options you can do here. You can play around with this, but I'm just going to show you the kind of the easiest ones for me to consider. Okay, so inside this then, we can then start to look at what sort of data we actually need. We don't need any of this data here. The only thing that we want to use this data for, and this table, is to work out these codes, these ANSI codes, in terms of the names of that state. And then basically what we can do, we can create ourselves a little lookup table that looks at the full name of the state, and it looks at the full name of that 2-letter code, and then from that it transforms into the other one. Okay. So what we're going to do then, we're going to get rid of some of these. So we need to remove all of the columns except for name of status of region, which is this first one here, and then the second one, name of status of region _1, and then ANSI. So we can click on all 3 of them. They're the ones that we want to keep, and then we're going to go to remove columns and click that little down button and remove other columns. So we've selected the ones we want, we select that, it'll get rid of everything apart from the ones that we want to use, okay? We then pulled down the data that we need to look at, and that's really important to consider. So we removed all the columns, and it's going to keep the 3 that we're going to look at. So we're going to make the name and status and inside the column headers as previously shown, which we've done it a bit early, but that's what we're going to do. And now we're going to look at the drop down next to the arrow, column header, and then filter to equals. So we're going to use this one here, which is name of status. And what we're basically going to do is, we're going to say anything that's got state here, these are states in America, so we want to keep these ones. We don't want this United States of America because it's not a state. And then we don't want all these down here because again, they're not states. So we're going to do some little transformation here to allow us to do that. So like I say, we're going to click this little arrow here. We're going to go to text filter and we're going to click equals. And then inside this little pop-up, we're going to go is equals to, and then we're going to type in state because that's what this bit is here. And then when we press OK, it's going to filter our data compared to everything apart from the states that are left. So we should be left then with a name of status, which is our actual name of the state, and then our short code for that state as well, okay? And that's going to be really useful for us. So with the extra values then that we've removed already, you now have a list of the 50 states and their official 2-letter abbreviations. You can rename the values, which we'll do to make sure it's in line with the worksheet. The first one here, we're going to right click, go on to rename, which is here. And we're going to call this state name. Try and call them the same as me, just for you don't get confused and stuff later on. I'm going to call it state name, and then we're going to click on this one. We're going to go to rename, and we're going to call this one status. And then we're going to go to this last one, which is our abbreviation, and we are going to call it abbreviation. Like so. Okay. So you've got these different things to consider now. Know that all of these steps again are recorded on the right hand side. If we want to go back to this filter one before we've changed the names, then you can go back to that one. This is really, really good. This is basically a big undo list. That means that we can go back to things, but it also means that if we set up Power BI desktops and with dashboards, we don't need to rechange everything every time. We can just change little bits of data and insert it at different places. Okay, so just keep an eye on that as we go through, because that's just going to put it into a bit more context for you as well. So you can rename things such as that then, and all these steps are applied under that applied steps in the query, and we should see something that looks like what we've got on screen now. Okay, we're going to change the name of this. So inside here in the properties, we're going to get rid of the whole of that title, and we're just going to call it state codes, like so, because we're going to use it in terms of that. And then from that, what we're going to do is we're going to look at pulling that data together and merging the queries. So I'm just going to click off that, make it a capital T. So now we've got these two things, what we need to do is we need to combine them, okay? This is quite a tricky thing in essence, just to make sure we get it right. So we're just going to take it a bit slow and make sure it makes sense. And then from that, you should have no problems in doing it yourself. So with the stable codes table shaped, you can then combine the two tables into one. Since the tables you now have are a result of the query you applied to the data, they're also called queries. So inside here we've got two separate queries. There are two primary ways of combining queries. These are called merge and append. So merge basically means bring them together, and append means add one query on top of the other one, in essence. So when you've got one or more columns you like to add to another query, you merge the queries. When you have additional rows of data you like to add to an existing query, you append the queries. In this case, what we're going to do is we're going to use merge because we want to check data against each other. So we're going to look at, in this case, we're going to look at merge the state queries into the best states for sunglasses query, or this one here, sunglass sales. So to merge it, what we need to do, we need to switch to our best states for sunglasses query, which we've called sunglass sales. I'm going to change that. So if I click on sunglasses sales, just so it's not confusing for you in the worksheet, we're going to change it to best states for sunglasses, like so, and now we're going to click on our best states for sunglasses, which is here, and then we're going to go to our panel at the top here, and we've got this merge queries box. Okay, this merge queries box is then going to allow us to add these different aspects together. When you click on merge queries, you'll see this pop up here. Okay, this is a little bit confusing, but this is basically what's going to allow us to attach two queries together in essence. So in the merge window, which we've got open now, we're going to use the drop down box and we're going to select state. So state codes here, which is the name of this one, we're going to connect this one to this one. So we're going to click states like so, and then we're going to select the two columns that are going to allow us to merge it together. So we're going to click state, which is there, and then we're going to click state, which is here. And in essence, if this privacy levels pops up, just click that ignore button for now, and then press save. What this is going to do is it's going to basically go through our states, and then it's going to match them to the states on this one, and then it's going to provide these columns based upon the actual record. So if, for instance, it's you can't see two on there, can you? But say, for instance, Alabama's down here somewhere in this column, it's going to match it up to this Alabama, and then it's going to add this AL to the end of the Alabama one in there. Obviously, we don't want it to be mixed up. We want it to match identical to that record, otherwise it wouldn't make sense. So we've got these two columns selected then, and then we're going to press OK. And you'll see from the screen now that we've basically added then this state codes, which is this one, onto this one here, and we've merged them together. At the moment, it doesn't show you everything. It just shows you the combined state code, and it just says table on each of them there, okay? What we're now going to do is we're going to click the little icon next to it here, and then it's going to give us a list of different things that we want to include within this. You can play around this as much as you want, and obviously you can use this undo one, but the only one that we really need to look at for now is this abbreviation. We've already got the state names in this column here, haven't we? What we've matched up, and we've already got the different aspects such as the status. So we're just, again, we're going to get rid of it, and we're just going to click abbreviations, and then we're going to press OK. You will then see that each one of these now links up. So Nebraska, the short code is NE. If we look at North Carolina, the short code is NC. So it all matches up based upon that transformation of data. And when we're talking about data integration, this is what data integration is. It's bringing data from different sources in the extract of the ETL process, extract, transform, load. We've extracted it and we're now transforming it, and we're going to load it into our database, or we're going to load it into our dashboard in this instance. This is what it is in practice, okay? So then, now we've got that abbreviation selected, we can do a number of different things in terms of selecting data and playing around with it. So you can play around with the state codes, you can do that as much as you want. But what we now have is a single query table, which is this one here, that combines two different data sources, each which have been shaped to meet the needs of our program in terms of this. And this query can serve as a basis for lots of additional interesting data connections, such as things such as demographics, wealth levels, and recreational opportunities in the States. So when we pulled in this data before and we went to get data, this get data had a number of different columns that we could use. You can go back to that and play around with it as well. And I would suggest you do that when we complete this tutorial, just because it's going to really help you out in essence. Okay, so now we've got that built then. For now, you've got enough data to create an interesting report in Power BI, and since this is a milestone, apply the changes in Power Query Editor and load them into the Power BI desktop. So if I just highlight it here, you'll see now Power BI desktop is in the background. We've got our Power Query Editor here. I'm going to go to this close and apply element, which is here, and I'm going to click close and apply. And basically what it'll do is it'll pull this query into here, like so. It'll take a couple of minutes maybe. It's just doing it here. It's pulling it in, it's doing the queries for us, it's working everything out. It's doing a lot of things in the background that save us a lot of time. So just give it a break, let it do it, and then it shouldn't take too long. It should take 30 seconds or so. I'm just going to pause the video until it's finished. Oh no, it's actually finished now. It did take 30 seconds, it took like 10. Okay, so now we've got that created then, what we can start to do is we can start to play around with the data in this mode. So if we click data, for instance, there, it pulls our data that we've transformed into here. We can click on the model and it shows us what we've got connected. So we've got best states for sunglasses connected to state codes, which is basically the logical stage of that conceptual, logical, physical database model we talked about. So hopefully you can kind of see how that theory is all coming together now. In terms of that then, we're going to start to build reports, and we're going to build reports in Power BI desktop here, which are then going to allow us to show off our data in a number of different ways. Okay, so we can start to, like I say, we can start to look at these reports. On the right hand side here, you'll see a list of these fields, okay? If you ever want to get back to that Power Query Editor, all you need to do is right click on the one you want to go into. So in terms of this one, click on Edit Query, and then it will re-pull up that Power Query Editor, and you can change everything just like you would do a minute ago, okay? So that's your quick route of getting back into that if you need to, which you will use that quite a lot to get back into. Okay, so I'm going to go to my Reports tab then. This is where I'm going to build the visuals, and I'm going to build things like the graphs in essence to allow me to do this. Inside this interface, there's a number of different things that I'm just going to quickly recap. At the top here, you've got a ribbon, which we're going to use quite a lot to pull data into and transform. The second one here is the canvas, in which we're going to build the visualizations. You've then got the page tab bit here at the bottom, so we're going to have different pages. Similar to how it works with workbooks and worksheets within Excel, we can do the same thing here. We've got the filter tab, or the filter bar that opens. We've got a visualization one, which allows us to select the different graphs, change them around, edit them, that sort of thing. And then we've got the actual fields, which is basically our data that we can then pull into our graphs, okay? You can make these shorter if you want to, like so, but I just like to keep them open for now, just so I can see what I'm doing along the way. So what we're going to do is then, we're going to firstly look at building a simple visualization for our states. So to create a simple visualization, just select any field in the field list. In this case, we're just going to use state. So in the field best states for sunglasses, click on state like so. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to, well, I was going to drag it in, but I double clicked on it by mistake. So that's going to do the same thing. It's going to build us something that kind of links to our field. It's going to do a bit of AI, a bit of machine learning, and work out the best thing. It knows that it's based on data, based upon different locations. So what it's done for us here, it's built us a little geospatial graph, and it's allowed us to then pull that in different aspects. And again, if we go on this visualization, we can go across this. They just call it map. It's called a geospatial graph. That's what its real name is. But you can go over map and you can change these different things around. Obviously, you can click on different ones if you wanted to. Some of them won't work because we've not set them up correctly. But this map version will work dead simply because it's all set there, ready to go. So look at that. Power BI Desktop recognized the states field contained geolocation data and automatically created that map visualization for us. the visualization data points for this shows 40 states from your data model, because obviously there was 50 of them and we got rid of the bottom 10 because we didn't want to include that within our data set. Again, you could go back to our states here, you could right click it, you could go back to our data, and then you could go back into queries, you could go back into it, you could change the filter based upon what you wanted, and then this will be different because of that. Okay, so in terms of that then, what we're going to now do is we're going to edit this slightly and play around with it. There's a number of icons in here that are really important in this visualization aspect. So at the top here, you've got a number of different graphs, a number of different ways of visualizing data. Here, you've got your fields tab, which means that we can change a number of different things to do with the fields of our graph. And then you've got the formatting one, which is the next one along. You can click on these and you can play around with them. And then what these will do is allow you to change a number of different settings in terms of this, okay? What we're going to do is we're going to start to look at how we then filter this graph even further now into the ones that we specifically want to look at in terms of this data, okay? So you want the map visualization to show the top 10 weather states, to show only the top 10 states. In the filter tab here, what we're going to do is we're going to go to this state is all. We're going to click on that. We're going to change basic filter into top N, and then we're going to say, right, okay, well, we want to take the bottom 10 here, and then we're going to put it into 10. So we want to do the bottom 10 pieces of data in our list, and that's going to show it in terms of that, okay? We're then going to drag the weather field, which is here, into our by value, and what this is basically going to do is, we've got our data set that we've already selected here on states. It's then going to filter it by the bottom 10 weather values, and then from that it's going to show us which states are left in essence based upon that bottom 10. And obviously that bottom 10 are our highest ones as well, our highest weather ones. And again, the query, you can go back and you can change it slightly to make sure that's right, because we did edit it slightly. So just to explain, if we went into here now, we've got this sort column. We're using the data that's pulled from here. If we went into here, right clicked and went to that data types, right, so we're in weather again, click on this, go on ascending, and then if we change that into there then, and we would insert it, it would then change that data, and it would allow us to mess around with it a bit more. So we've got that sorted column in essence there. So we've got that bottom 10 now in essence. So what we're going to do then, we'll jump back to that Power BI. That was just to show you kind of how we could change it. I'll press cancel, go to close and apply, and then close and apply. That was just to show you how we could change things as we went through. Let's give it a second. Okay, and then we can jump back to our dashboard and it will have updated based upon that. Right, okay, so now we've got this open then, if we jump back to this filter that we were doing. So we've got filter, we've got the top N, and we've got top, no, we're going to go bottom, sorry, selected, and then we're going to click 10 because we want the bottom 10 values. We're then going to pull weather, which is here. We're going to drop it into by values, and that's going to compare it against weather. And then from that, we're then going to go to this apply filter. We're going to click on apply filter, and you'll see that now only 10 has appeared by weather in essence, and these are the ones that are the hottest states. You notice they're closer to the equator, closer to Mexico. Makes sense, doesn't it? But then these are the top 10 that we're then going to try and sell our sunglasses to. And even then, we've just done some major data analysis. We've taken two pieces of data, we've done some transformation, we've pulled them together, we've got data from multiple sources, and then from that, we've then pulled that data to allow us to aid that business, if you will. It's never going to solve it because it's only data. Data can't solve business insight or business queries as we've talked about, but it can give us information that's going to allow us to feed into that business decision. So we've got these different things anyway to consider, these 10 different points, if you will. In terms of that then, you now see 10 weather states in the map visualization. We're going to change this graph around a little bit, so we're going to change the name of it here. So let's go to our format tab here, which is this one, like little roller, paint roller. And then we're going to go down here into we'll go into title, which is here. And then we're going to change state, which is this one. And we're going to change it to top 10 weather states, like so, and then we're just going to press enter, and you'll see now it appears at the top. I'm going to add some capitals because I should. So W and an X, like so, and again it's there, like so. You can play this around as well. You can change the font. I can make it in the middle. You can change it around as much as you want in terms of that. And again, there's loads of things you can do in here. You could, for instance, turn the backgrounds on and off. If you look around the side of the map here, you give it a little shadow just to make it look a bit better. Remember, this is about visualization, so thinking about them sorts of things is really important. And again, you can play around with it, just have a look at it. You can't break it in the formatting, so just have a play around with it and see what you can do. Turn things on and off and play around. That's how you get good at this program, play around with things. Okay, so now we've got that done then. One of the things that we're going to do is we're going to add the visualization to show that the names of the top 10 weather states and then rank from 1 to 10. So even though we've got this in the visualization format, it'd be really handy to know out of these 10 states which one's the hottest, and we're going to have a little chart underneath it there to show us in terms of this. Okay. So in order to do this, we're going to select the blank area here, and then we're going to go to the right hand side and we're going to select a column chart. So that's this one here. Yeah, this one, stacked column chart. We're going to click on, in fact, shall we use that or shall we use a normal one? So let me make sure, yeah, we use the stacked one. So we're going to stacked column chart there, like so. And then on the right hand side, we're going to click on state, which is here. And we're going to click on weather, like so. So they're both ticked, like so. And you'll see now on the bottom, we've got weather by state. This has basically worked out the weather based on rank. If you remember the data here, they're already ranked based on weather. So we've worked it out based upon that, if you will. Okay, so we've got that weather and we've got that state connected. In terms of that then, what we're going to do is we're going to switch the order of ranking so that number 1 appears first, and then we're going to minimize this data to the top 10, which is what we want to do. So in order to switch the data, we're going to go to more options. So inside this little one we've made, we go to the top right here, click on more options like so, and then we're going to go sort ascending. And then this is the same then as the way in which our data was set up. So Hawaii there, for instance, is there, Hawaii. Then we've got Florida, which is it this side? It's there in essence. And then we've got these other aspects such as built up there. So you can have a look over that, like there you've got Texas, which is Texas. And then you've got Louisiana, which is Louisiana there. So you've got these different aspects such as that. Okay. So looking at this then, sorry, I was clicking off it to like so. Okay, so you've got these different aspects to consider. When you've got, another thing you can do as well, you can click on the different states like so, and that'll allow you to play around with it a little bit, which will be useful for you depending on what you're doing. So you can do a bit of geography here as well. So, right, okay, let's go back to what we're doing. So in terms of this weather by state then, we've now sorted it by ascending order, and that's really important to consider. We then want to have a look at filtering it a little bit because we don't want everything to be exactly the same, and we don't want all of the data to be here. We only want them top 10 to be appearing, okay? So to limit the table size to the top 10 states, we're going to apply the same bottom 10 filter as we did to the map visualization. So we're going to click on this, we're going to go to this state is all, we're going to go on basic filtering, and we're going to change it to top N. We're then going to go to bottom, we're going to make it by 10, which is there, and then we are going to click on, which one did we do, by weather. So we're going to go back to this one, we're going to drag weather onto there, like so, and again I just need to edit that, put 10. So you just want top N, bottom 10, weather, and then apply filter, and then that should get rid of all of them based upon what we need. So you should see now that these 10 have appeared, and again they should be located on this map as well when you've not got it selected like I have now. Okay, so in terms of that then, that's what we need to consider in essence. So when we're looking at this data set then, what we've basically done now is we've created two different charts, two different visualizations of data based upon different things. And you can go into this in more detail and you can play around with it. Some of that data might be in slightly the wrong place, but we could edit that afterwards. The process is important. So in terms of this then, we can slide in and out, we can change data labels. What we're going to do is we're going to click on our chart here at the bottom, and we're just going to edit a few of the details here on this side. We're going to go to format, which is this one in the middle, like I say. We're going to turn off the y-axis in terms of this, like this is the y-axis there. So if we turn it off, you'll see that disappears. We don't need to know the data that runs alongside the axis. And again, you could do it with the x-axis as well, but that would get rid of the names of the states. We don't want to do that, so we'll keep that one on. We're then going to go to zoom all. We'll turn this one here on, which basically means that when we click on it, it'll allow us to zoom into what we need to do. We're going to go to data labels. We're going to turn data labels on, so we've got this actual number that appears that's going to be useful for us. And then we're going to go to our title. We're going to drop that down, and then we're going to call the title top 10 weather states, like so. And again, it's changed there. I'll put a capital to make sure it matches up, and then I will make it centered, like so. So we've got these two charts that look very similar, just done slightly differently. And what we can do now is we can start to make other ones if we want to. So we've got these two. We could start to do things like combining affordability and overall rating. I'm not going to do loads more on the screen because I want you to play around with it now and see what you can do. I want you to click on things and not try and break it, but you're not going to break it. You can go back, you can delete things and remove it. So for instance, one thing that I could do is I could create myself a visualization here of this one. So if I go to here, line and cluster column, which is one we're going to look at, one thing we can do is we can pull different data. So like I clicked these two before, when you're pulling these, you notice here at the column series and shared axis, how we can, if we click on a number of them, they start to appear here, okay? And we can start to play around with it a little bit and make it work. In terms of what we could do is, we could go, right, okay, we've got a shared axis in the bottom, which is going to be state. So we could drag that into that shared axis one there, which is what we could do. We could then, inside the column values, which is here, we could add weather. So we'll drag weather into that column values, which you now see the weather is based upon the state there. And then what we could do is we could add another one. So we could go on affordability at this top, and we could drop that below weather. Make sure you don't drop it on weather, but below. And you'll see how these now two columns are based upon that weather and count of affordability. So there's a number of different things in here that we can do, and we can start to play around with it, and we can start to really look at how we put this data together in terms of visualizations. We're not going to go into loads of detail about this just yet, because this is an introduction. We're going to go into a number of these different ones as we go forward in the course, but for now, I think that's just going to confuse the matter. All I need you to get into context is how we bring in data, how we pull it together. And again, in that get data tab, for instance, there's a number of different things we're going to start to use. Like we're going to pull Excel documents in, all that sort of stuff. This web one is just an easy one to get you going, if you will. So you can show these different visualizations then, and you can also show them on different pages. So for instance, this one, top 10 weather states, we've got page one here. If I double click on that, I can change the name of it, similar to what you can do in Excel. So top 10 weather states, like so. And then you can also change the second one here, and we're going to change this one to, what do we change it to in the worksheet? Let me check. So top 10 affordability states. And we will have one more. I'm just going to put the capitals like they should be in there. I would end up changing that afterwards. And then the final one here, we're just going to change to top 10 weather states with overall rank. Like so. Okay, so these different ones here are basically different pages within this dashboard. We're not going to do all these together. These are ones that you can go and play around with and have a look at and try and pull your own data into. What I kind of want to do after you've completed this tutorial, whichever lesson you're on, is I want you to spend a bit of time going through these different things and trying to basically recap what we've just done there together, using these different fields and bringing in different ones and trying to build different comparisons. Remember, interpretation, visualization of data is all about that interpretation of data. and bringing in different aspects of it, like comparing state to overall rank, comparing weather to overall rank, comparing affordability and then weather states to overall rank, is going to give us different things to consider and different things that a business analyst could look at and then interpret based upon their needs. Okay, so you've got some data here we can begin to look at. You've got some different tabs. Some of the other things you could do within this dashboard is you could go to the top here, insert, and you could change these elements here. You can add a text box, so you could type some text into it. You can add a different shape, like so, and you could bring this wherever you want to in the dashboard. You could put your own image in, so you go into the image and you could click on any image you wanted to and bring that in. And delete them for now, because I don't want them. Like so. And then you can add different things such as that. So you can have a background, you could put some different pretty pictures, you could put different logos for the company in there, all that sort of stuff to make it look good. Remember, the dashboard is about it looking good, because people are going to see it. People are going to interpret your data based upon it, and they're going to look at it and go, right, okay, that totally makes sense. Doing little things like adding logos just shows that trustworthiness and that extra level of professionalism, which is crucial within data analysis to build that trust. Trust is everything, okay? So within this then, the final step, and it's quite a short one, so thank you for watching so far. So in order to share the work then, what we can do, and by share what I mean is we can publish it and we can put it up to the Power BI website or into your My Workspace, and then from that you can then share it around and you can start to do the online versions of it. Remember, at the moment we're just working on this Power BI desktop version, and that means that it's very secluded to your host PC, and obviously when you're building something like this, that's not the end goal, if you will. So what we're going to do is then we're going to go to the top here, we're going to go to home, just save it if you've not done so far, just go to file, save, and then save it somewhere. Go to this publish button, so home, publish, and then do you wish to save changes? Yeah, I'll save my changes. And then I'm going to select it to My Workspace. I'm going to publish it to My Workspace because that's my Power BI hard drive, if you will. You can publish it to different Teams pages and different aspects such as that. But in terms of what we're going to do for now, click My Workspace, then click Select. Inside this, I've already got a report called Test Document 1 because I've recreated this basically. You shouldn't see that based on this name. If you have, you just might need to change the names of it. But in terms of what we're going to do, I'm just going to click Replace because I know I'm updating that one based upon mine. Be very careful, obviously, when you're doing that. You're not deleting work because you might not be able to get it back. When we've got Publish into Power BI, it says Success. And then I'm just going to click on this Open Test Document in Power BI. And then it'll open up the website that includes Power BI here. Okay. In Power BI, basically what we've done there is we've transformed our data from this desktop version that we've created here, and then we've published it and uploaded it to our online app, powerbi.com. When we've got this open, this is exactly the same as what we've previously created from our desktop, and we can do a number of different things in this as well. So it's a very powerful tool still. In the left hand side here, we've got workspaces. We've got all the different ones we could publish it to. We've got My Workspace, which is going to save our reports. So this test document here, this is our dashboard, for instance, that we just created. We've uploaded it from our Power BI desktop to our web version. If we wanted to do it the other way around, we could go on this Get Data, and we could take it from our online version. We could go into Files, and we could find the actual file on our system, and then we can upload it that way as well. So that's just another way in which we could do this. If I just open up my dashboard again, we can also share it in here. You need to have the Pro version, but if you click Share, it will come up saying you don't have the Pro version. If you click Next, No, you've got some different elements here that you can do with it. So people with existing access can use this link, and then you've got a copy link to share it with someone, and you've got some different things such as that. You've got Outlook and Teams pages where you can share it. You can go and edit here, and you can change the actual charts themselves and the filtering. You can change all this around within this. I try and stick to using desktop version, uploading it, just because I find it easier. If you find this a little bit easier for changing little bits, then by all means do it that way. But try and stick to the desktop version if you can. And then obviously if you're doing changes within this mode, you would then need to go to File and save it as well. And also you can publish it to different elements. You can export it to things like PowerPoint, and you can pull data in terms of that. But we'll look at all that in a later date anyway. The bit I wanted you to see from that point is Power BI Desktop, which is this, is a way of making dashboards on your desktop, on your host PC, and then you can upload it to the Power BI environment, if you will, and then from that you can make changes and publish it. In terms of what we've learned today, hopefully, and I say hopefully because hopefully you've obviously learned it. Again, if you're still struggling, that's perfectly fine. It's an introductory video. You can go over it again, you can recap, you can play around with it, you can ask me questions, and hopefully I can help you out that way. Hopefully what we've looked at today is we've taken some data from the web, from 2 different sources, we've done some transformation, some data integration, we've pulled it together, and then when we've pulled it together, we've looked at then outputting it as a dashboard using different queries, using different visualizations, and hopefully you can kind of see how this starts to come together. We're going to look at quite a lot of different methods of this, and we're going to look at a number of these different visualization methods. We're going to do a lot more filtering, and we're going to do a lot more query building based on things like Excel data, maybe a bit of Python importing, maybe a bit of XML. There's a number of different things we could do, which we'll look at together. And again, this get data, as you've seen previously, we can get data from millions of different places in order to bring into Power BI. So hopefully this video's been useful anyway. I'll kind of leave it there because it's about an hour long. Hopefully you've got a lot from it. If there's any questions, again, you can either comment on wherever this has been posted to, or you can just ask me if you're one of my students, and I will happily help you out the best I can. So thank you for watching Introduction to Power BI.